Hey guys, so it's Hazza here, and I'm gonna record this video because I don't know, I just feel like it. Um, I don't know if you, I don't know, someone might know who watches this video. I was on while I was watching, and then I was a guest on KainBringingThePain's Gamer Talk Live last night, and it was episode maybe 19, maybe I think it's 19. But yeah, and it was on Immersion and what is immersion in games, and just basically a talk about that. I thought it was a really interesting subject because, like, when you come to the general definition of immersion, in the dictionary definition, it's complete attention or like intense mental effort. So you're focusing on something, and it can also like you could also be swapped out for like absorption or oh, what's the other one? I can't remember the other word. But yeah, it's like that kind of thing. I think when we come to games, when we come to immersion in games, I think it's a very different concept. Like, just because you're focusing entirely on a game, doesn't really mean that it's immersive in a sense. Like, immersive can mean a lot of different things when it comes to games. And I just crashed terribly. But like, immersion can mean a lot of different things. So when you get a thing like so when you get a game like, let's say, Mass Effect. Let's talk about Mass Effect. So that game. Its story's immersive. Its gameplay isn't particularly immersive, but I think its story's immersive. Like, you care for the characters. The characters are well fleshed out. The voice acting is really good. Although Jennifer Hale is miles above Male Shep. So yeah, there's that. But yeah. But yeah, that, like, I'm not particularly immersed in the gameplay, but I'm very much immersed in the story. Another example of that kind of thing is Bioshock Infinite. Now, Bioshock Infinite, if anyone who follows me on Twitter or anything knows, I'm a really big kind of... I'm really trying to express that Bioshock is overrated and it really doesn't deserve the praise it gets. It's not a game of the year by any shape or means. In my opinion, both Tomb Raider and The Last of Us are much better games than Bioshock Infinite. But however, Bioshock Infinite has the best video game story I have ever... The best story. It's got one of the best stories that I've ever been a part of. I've ever just kind of like gotten soaked into. I was soaked into that story. I was so interested in it. A lot of people criticize it for being convoluted, and I completely disagree. I went through that story. I understood everything that was going on, and when it turned out that my conclusion that I had at the end of the credits was indeed very similar to what is the now finished theory, so to speak, then I was really pleased with it, and like, it was really cool to talk to other people about it, like intelligent discussion. And that was a game that I was really I was really kind of immersed in. That was a story that I was immersed in. Now the gameplay, on the other hand, was like, it was boring, it was repetitive. Like, it wasn't on the same intelligent level that the story was, and it seemed like such a weird oxymoron, so to speak, like contradiction. It's like, here you have this amazing story that's supposed to appeal to like the track's finished, but you've got this amazing story that's supposed to like attract like really like intellectual, intelligent people. However, you then fill the game with this gameplay that's just filled with bullet sponge enemies with no thought of and grab a weapon and shoot the fuck out of them for ages. It just seems like such a contradiction to me. It's so boring. It's like, I spent the entire game thinking, when am I gonna get to the next friggin' map, the next friggin' story progression thing, or whatever. And then what baffles me more is that they've then brought out this Clash in the Clouds DLC. It just seems so weird that they bring out a DLC that's based entirely on the game's weakest part, and this map is gonna be horrendous because. Oh my god! Shit! Right. But yeah, it just looks awful. It's like, what were you thinking? It's like, easily, it's like, It's like, Bioshock Infinite could have been something that was Game of the Year guaranteed, but it's just not. And but even then, I know that all the like all the game like places are gonna give it Game of the Year, and it's awful, really, really awful. But like, past BioShock Infinite, I've had a little rant about that now. But yeah, that's a game that like struggles with immersion because it breaks immersion a lot. I struggled I didn't find the gameplay easy. I found it quite difficult. I was dying a lot. And while the failure screens actually made sense to the story, like they didn't kind of pull you out and was like, you failed, try again. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do whatever as part of the story or the game or whatever. It's gonna make sense how you're able to carry on. But I think that was a good thing. But still, it's like I'm just stuck on this gameplay shooting shit for 20 minutes, kind of just like reminding me that I'm just playing a game. If these things called vigors are around, then why aren't other people using them other than the specialist guys? Why when I'm shooting a handyman, couldn't you have made him a bit more challenging, like shooting off his arms and shit like that? That would have been so much better. And how am I going to get over this jump? It's just one of those things. But I think the conclusion that I got from GamerTalkLive, which was, I'm going to link to it actually, it was an extremely good show. It was a pleasure to be on it. I'm definitely going to watch it live from now on. I've watched bits and pieces on YouTube, but I think I'm definitely going to watch it live, especially because it's one of the few podcasts that I'm able to watch live now that I've started my new job. But yeah, so I'm going to link to that. But what I concluded from the podcast was that I think the key to an immersive game is where all the components of the video game have to be of high quality. They have to complement each other, and they have to make sense when compared with the rest of the game. Another really good example of this done wrong is motion controls. So what happened with motion controls is that we made these motion control things, and they made some good fun games with them. Without a doubt, those games were fun. Kinect Sports, so much fun. I never realized I would be bowling in my kitchen. Like seriously, it was good, and it was fun, and it was enjoyable. And that was an example of a good game using motion controls. Now, what people shouldn't have done, what developers shouldn't have done, is said, hey, let's take this input device and use it and try to adapt it to a type of video game such as an FPS or a side-scrolling platformer that we already have a system for. We have a controller, or we have a keyboard and mouse, or we have a steering wheel. We don't, that's not how game design works. The way game design works is you make the game and adapt the game to the control scheme. And an example of that is good touchscreen games like Infinity Blade and Angry Birds. Those are examples of well-designed games because they've designed the game to fit the input device. They've matched the game so that it uses kind of like control schemes and kind of like movements and actions that the player has to make that are natural to them, that fit the type of controller. That's immersive. You're not gonna get flustered and like you're not gonna break your concentration because the game decided not to read that input that you put in, or you decided to not like swing your bat in the right place. That's an example of bad immersion and bad game design. And so the key really is to make sure that they all fit each other and they all make sense in the narrative. Everything makes sense together. And I think a really good example of this is Dark Souls. Dark Souls makes so much sense, and this track was also about to finish. Dark Souls makes so much sense as a video game. Everything complements each other. Everything makes sense with each other. Every single game mechanics has an explanation within the story. It's completely immersive. I'm immersed in the gameplay, I'm immersed in the story, I'm immersed in what I'm doing, I'm immersed in all the characters around me. Because I keep dying and I keep playing through the game again and again and again and again, I'm learning the environment, I'm paying attention to all the little nuances and all the little details. I become completely absorbed in that world. And that is the key to immersion. Now, it's not the only way to do it. I'm not saying that every single game in the future just needs to make you play through games again and again and again. But that's a sense of exploration, and that's a sense of storytelling and gameplay that was thought out from the start. The entire design of the game came together beautifully. I could say I care more for any of the characters in Dark Souls than any of the shallow NPCs that I found in Whiterun or Riften or where else. And it's just, I don't know, it just seems like such a simple concept. It's like, does this make sense? Is this fun to play? Are you going to get frustrated by this game? It's like, well, then it's not going to be immersive, and the player's not going to enjoy it. But then again, you can talk about it another way. And this is another thing that came to me after I was on the show, which I kind of came across to a kind of different conclusion. It's like, is it really important that every single game is immersive? And I'd say it isn't. A game I've thoroughly enjoyed, Deadpool. I found that very immersive. I'm not talking about. I didn't find Deadpool immersive at all. It was like a TV show. I was watching it, I was playing it, and I was having fun doing it. It didn't need to be immersive. That wasn't the point of the game. It was there to entertain me. It's like I'm watching a show, like I'm watching some hilariously bad sitcom, and like that's an example of a game that doesn't need immersion, but it's still good, even though it's not immersive. So what game developers really need to learn is stop worrying about making things immersive. Stop trying to make crazy stuff. No more crazy. Oh my god. No more crazy like input schemes. Like make output screens crazy, because the only way you're gonna make good immersion is by force feedback. Sensory feedback. That's how you make good immersion. You've got the sound already, you got the visuals. Soon you can have improved visuals, the Oculus Rift, which I cannot wait for. And as soon as the commercial version goes on pre-order, I'm going to put my name down for that shit straight away. I don't care what anyone else says. That thing is, cannot wait for the Oculus Rift, man. But yeah, focus on sensory output if you're going to focus on anything for gimmicks. But then your game is going to fail anyway if the plain old design is just awful. It's like if I'm playing The Walking Dead and suddenly I get a failure screen, like that's the one thing that's awful about The Walking Dead. I didn't think about it before I gave it my Game of the Year. I've always considered my Game of the Year for last year. But I think that's something that's awful about The Walking Dead is the failure screens. Like you're supposed to be so excited about how the story's progressing, how you care for those characters, but then you fail and oh no, my jugular, it's spurting blood. But then you get to try again. It brings you out and it ruins the immersion. It's like the one great thing about the story, and then you realize, oh wait, it's just a game still, and like I can't get this wrong, and that spoils it. And I'm rambling on. I know I'm rambling on, but it's a really interesting concept, and I'm sure I could write a better opinion piece on it. But this is like straight off the cuff. This is like I'm playing freaking Trackmania 2 Valley while I'm talking about this. So that's how you know that I'm not really concentrating on what I'm saying. But yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting concept. It was a really interesting discussion. Another thing I wanted to comment on as well was that some people who were guests on there, like one guy, I think his name was Captain. He said that in order for a game to be immersive, it has to have a good gameplay, interesting characters, and interesting story. And I thought that's really just an example of a good game, or in order to have a good game, you have to have good characters, good gameplay, and an interesting story. But I don't think that would make an immersive game by any means. Like I said earlier, it needs to complement each other. Like they need to make sense together. So like you can't have a story about friggin' a chess tournament and suddenly have the gameplay be a first-person shooter. It's like, Call of Chess 5, Modern Checkmate or something. I don't know. But that wouldn't make sense as a game. Now, it wouldn't be an immersive game. It'd be totally unbelievable. Like it'd be fun, but it wouldn't be immersive by any sense of the imagination. And then again, I think there's different types of immersion as well. So like I said before, you can get immersed in the story, but you also get immersed in the gameplay, like this. I'm getting really immersed in the gameplay, even though I'm able to talk to you at the same time. Like I'm really enjoying playing. I'm focusing. It's like there's something that really appeals to me about playing an arcade style racer and being focused on getting every single turn as perfect as possible. And like just getting everything like down to the thing, trying to get the best time that I can possibly get. That's something that's really interesting to me. Another example is Call of Duty Zombies. Call of Duty Zombies is something that I find very, very immersive. It's like I can sit, like when I get into it, Like I can sit and play that. I've played that for like 6 hours straight once, and that was nothing. I played Heavy Rain for, and then and that's nothing to do with like story. Like that was concentration, pure and simple. Like there was nothing, there was no story to do with it. That was just, I was immersed in the gameplay. I was concentrating on what I was doing, and that's an example of really good gameplay, but it's not an example of the overall immersion that I was talking about. And so you get to the point where it's like saying, well, what exactly is immersion in video games? I think it's unique for every single game. You couldn't compare the immersion that I find for Call of Duty Zombies and compare that to the immersion in Heavy Rain. In Heavy Rain, I'm totally immersed in the story, I'm immersed in what's going on, I'm immersed in the characters and dialogue, but I'm not immersed in the gameplay. The gameplay, honestly, wasn't all that interesting. It wasn't where it shined, it was in the story. But you can't compare those two things, yet they use the same word, and it's really interesting. I think immersion in games is a really good discussion that people should have. So, oh my god, GPS loading. I don't want any oh my god, I went the wrong way. So yeah, I think that was really interesting. It was a really interesting conversation. I'm sorry I've rambled, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because I don't know, I just find it really oh my god, such an interesting topic to talk about. I think I'll do some more of these videos because I don't know, I tend to think a lot about this kind of thing and I have opinions on a lot of stuff. So for example, the validity of reviews, which is another thing that KainBringingThePain brought up in GamerTalkLive not so long ago. Or it might have been like from last year, but for some reason it's been showing up on my YouTube inbox for some stupid reason. But yeah, like I have a different opinion to him. Like he mentioned the. I don't want to go into a different topic now, so I'll probably make another video about it later. But yeah, so I've got a bit of time, maybe make some more videos, that kind of thing. But yeah, this has been Hazza, talking about immersion in video games. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Bye.